Come closer, come closer. Yeah, no last minute. So let's see what we have here.
I'm the first thing.
Yeah, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Okay.
And to confirm that there's a quorum,
Okay.
and then I'll throw it to you.
Okay, cool.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I would ask all of you to take your seats, please. Come on down. One thing about our shul, we do like to spread out. We do like I'm not one to talk, sitting there over on the left wing most Shabbatot. We'll let everybody grab their ballots and have a seat. Good morning. I'm Jeff Kirsch. I am volunteer president of Shereth Israel. If I don't know you already, I hope I'll get to be introduced to you. I will declare, I'm also, because of that, chair of this meeting, the annual meeting of our membership, and I can confirm that we have a quorum to do business, so our meeting is now open. I will call upon Rabbi Kamen to give a Devar Tefillah and welcome on behalf of the shul.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Pesach is coming soon. I can hear the excitement in the room. Or the anxiety, rather, right? It's a holiday that is, in a way, the annual meeting of the Jewish people every single year. We gather and we have an agenda, and we follow that agenda faithfully. We want to skip maybe parts of it, but it is yet an agenda for us to embark upon. And in that story that we tell, we come each year to the section, B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam nir'ot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. That in every generation, a person is obligated to see themselves as if they were the ones who were slaves in Egypt and God freed us. That the past isn't really the past. The past is simply the present that we are reliving in a way today. A project that I've been involved in that I found tremendously meaningful has been a deep dive into the archives of Shereth Israel. I've been teaching a class on Wednesday nights telling the story of how we went from an Orthodox congregation to a traditional congregation and what it was like for us to be a traditional congregation for 50 years. And then the moment this week that I'll recall is the story of how we in 2001 and 2 become a conservative, egalitarian congregation, a story that many of you were a part of. And what has been so striking for me in the reading of the annual meeting minutes and the congregational minutes from years and years ago is how the generations that came before us really struggled with what it meant to be living this story, to be creating this microcosm of the Jewish people, and recognizing that the work that we do is the work of generations, the work that brings us from the past to the future by being right now here in the present and living our story as best we can. I've never been prouder, as we have been involved over this past year in really significant work of a campaign that we call Lidor Vidor, from generation to generation, a campaign that has energized and engaged so many of us in meaningful contributions to the future of this community. And I've never been prouder because this work feels so timely, so important, so real, because we're not only here for ourselves. This congregation is simply a microcosm of the Jewish people right here in Atlanta right now, and the work of the Jewish people is eternally important. And so it feels, as I look at the archives and stand here before you today in the present, as we think about where we are today and where we're going in our future, to be part of a historic moment is a great privilege that we are a part of right now. And that one day, maybe people like us will come and look at the archives and see the meeting minutes of today and realize, wow, this was a generation that did something important, that did something meaningful, that carried the story forward. B'chol dor vador, in every generation, we are obligated to see ourselves as if we are going out from Egypt and to the Promised Land. And it's work that we will continue in our generation, in our time. It is such a privilege to be your rabbi and to be joining you today for this annual meeting.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. A little bit of formality first. Well, more formality. There's a few formalities during this. All of you will have received the minutes from last year's annual meeting, which require approval. It was in the notice attached to your notice of meeting. I would ask the secretary to present a motion to approve last year's annual meeting and then ask for a second.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes from last year's meeting?
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Thank you. All in favor of approving last year's minutes, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstained. The motion passes. Then I would like to call upon our treasurer, Ben Krieger, to provide the treasurer's report. And we'll talk about, we're not going to be discussing the capital report this time that was in the agenda, but I will give some background to that in my immediate remarks thereafter. Ben, over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm not sick, but the trees are attacking my vocal cords. So my voice might break like this is my bar mitzvah all over again. Didn't expect that. All right, so we'll be talking about our past year's financial budget and performance and kind of this year's and our prediction. This is going to be a high-level overview, so any and all questions, please come afterwards, ask Corey and myself. We're happy to talk about it. This will just be high level. And I'll also pitch right now that the Budget and Finance Committee is open to all members. We'd love to have more participation And in fact, after this annual meeting, we'll be meeting in Corey's office to talk about the proposed budget for next year. So if you're curious, if you're thinking about joining the committee, please stop on by, ask questions. Down. Okay, there we go. All right, so the bylaws require me to present last year's annual budget and how we did. This is now normally it used to be before we changed our budget year, this would be only from 3 months prior, but now we're talking about 9 months, and 9 months was 12 months ago. So this is a pretty long range ago, but what you'll see is that it correlates a lot to this year. Really, what's important to know is just two things. One, we don't expect the expense and income to match in each category, but these are the historical categories. Oh, you can't hear me? Sorry. It sounds like echoing. These are the categories we've used year over year, so we'll continue to present in these categories. Perfect. And the overall, this number, our net income was about $77,000 for last year, which is about what Jerry was predicting when he came up here and talked last time. This is normal for us that we plan for a balanced budget. We try to pull back a little bit on our spending and then end up a little bit above. So nothing unexpected. Here we go. All right. Historically, we've also talked about investment growth. You'll see, again, little to be surprised by. It's maybe in a slightly small font, but if you see from the starting point of last fiscal year, all of our balances added up to a little bit over $2 million. Our returns were in the low double digits, and this is just, those four down there are just kind of our top funds in terms of size. These are some of our restricted funds. The endowment is sometimes referred to as the reserve fund. It's kind of an intertwining of the two. You can see that some of the funds would have maybe had a slightly more aggressive, like the Merlin Youth Camp Scholarship Fund returns, but in general, the committee we have that manages our investments is a little bit more conservative. So, but still obviously good returns, and the market was good last year.
Inflation is hitting everybody in every face. How are we handling or trying to handle it?
Obviously, inflation doesn't really quite affect the investment growth here, and this was from the prior year. But, what we're mostly doing is making sure that nothing's sitting around just in cash now. We've been making more use than ever, I would say, of just general treasury funds, or, money market funds that invest heavily in treasuries, so that we're at least getting that approximately 4% back, and we don't have money just sitting doing nothing. Yep. All right, so coming to this year, I've tried to project out a little bit. These numbers are a bit small, so come up and ask me about them. It looked really nice on my laptop screen. But again, come up and ask us about them later. At least I gave you these little gauges so you can just generally see. What these gauges each show is just where we are. On left side is income progress, right side is expense progress, and you can see this is how much we've spent versus how much not we budgeted, but how much we're projecting. If you were able to see, what you'd see is that the amount we're projecting for everything is pretty close on the income and a little bit less on the expenses overall, which is just natural, right? As we come to the end of the year, we see, okay, we are pretty close to on budget, so we'll pull back a little bit just to be safe. And the end result is we're projecting right now that our net income at the end of this fiscal year in 3 months will be about $54,000. So the previous fiscal year, around 77. This is normal for us to have a little bit extra left over. And we'll talk about why in just a second. So the key drivers for this year's operational budget these are all normal things. We use a cash basis accounting, which means that income and expense only affect the year they come in. So sometimes we try to do something in one fiscal year, but it ends up actually occurring. The expense is actually incurred in the next year. This has an effect on this year's budget as well as every other year's. For example, the HVAC controller we approved getting replaced, the HVAC controller from the 1960s, which was analog and cost $50,000 to replace, is just an expense that happened to move into this budget year. So that was a pretty significant one. Dues have been growing, which is good. We did a 3% annual dues increase, again, which is honestly less than inflation has been. So, we look at that each year and we make sure that we increase a bit each year so that we don't have to do every 5 or 10 years a really huge jump in membership dues. So we'll continue doing that, looking at inflation and whatnot. We had really good Machane Shai enrollment this year. That met and exceeded expectations. That's a big part of our income too. But growth in membership units overall is the most important thing. We also had a successful annual appeal, so thank you. One big thing, and we'll talk about this again on my last slide in just a few slides, is that this year one of our higher costs was for accounting costs. Our synagogue has been growing up, starting to do things the grown-up way, and part of that is having professional accounting services who specialize in synagogues actually take a look at our books, keep track of things, and actually allow us to implement a lot of oversight and controls. It's essentially extra people, right? It's what we would do if we were a bigger group who maybe would have an in-house accountant. And then just briefly talking on the budget challenges, it's exactly what you would expect. The biggest drivers have been food cost. You can really see that kiddushes have cost more this year. Donate, if you have a birthday coming up, donate to a kiddush. HVAC maintenance is always a problem, but especially as things have gotten older. That drags down on the budget a lot. Some of that, the bigger stuff, is of course capital, and we separated it out from our operating budget, but the operating budget still has a big amount dedicated towards what we consider regular operational repairs to HVAC, and we're not always the luckiest when it comes to that. And then finally, increased security needs. As you've noticed, we have to hire a lot more security, so that was an unexpected change. So then I talked about how we separate out the capital budget from the operating budget. Right now, this looks really, if you look at just the pure numbers, it looks very bad. Why does it look very bad? For good reason. We had 2 security grants we were working on, and the way security grants work is that we do all of the upgrades and then we get reimbursed. And we still have more than $150,000 of reimbursements that we expect to come in fairly soon. We were able to do the perimeter fencing, very important security upgrade, as well as interior doors and getting those all under a single lock and upgraded. Definitely probably the single biggest thing affecting our capital budget this year was, as you remember, the HVAC went out. There was a large expense getting the temporary one installed and then keeping it running. It had a very high cost month to month, let alone just the electricity cost. That ended up totaling about $85,000 of unexpected costs. And finally, to get the parsonage ready to rent again, we did have to redo the roof. And now it's ready and has occupants in it, which is good because now it's making us money again. And for my final slide, I just want to reassure you that we've been making upgrades to our way of doing things. This is obviously ties into the capital campaign, but it was a good time for it anyway. For the sake of having better operational kind of preparedness for these things, a lot of grants require us to have professionally prepared books in lieu of an audit usually. And having Kesef has been really, really helpful, not just from the standpoint of having more eyes and more controls over our finances, but also because it allows people to go on vacation. We're a very small office, and we don't want to end up at the point where one person has all the knowledge and all the controls. By having a professional firm with obviously many staff members, this allows us to be more resilient as an organization. And we've just been upgrading things, digitizing and improving. Bill.com has also allowed us to move more things digitally, keep track of things long term, and just have overall better view into our finances and oversight from the board standpoint. So I won't take any more time.
Thank you, Ben.
Come.
Great. Thank you very much. As Ben said, if you have questions, we will answer them. If you have questions in more detail, we will come back to you and report back. But as you can tell, I think you saw that our annual budgeting and our management of resources is very careful. We build a very careful budget and encourage all of you to take a look at it. There's financial statements up on the desk, but also to be sure to think forward about our capital needs. I mentioned that Andy Lorber is here on our board and has cast a task force to think about capital needs, not just next year, but 5 years and 10 years. And they're not insubstantial. As we saw last year when the HVAC went out last June, it was $1 million item to deal with, all in, including rental of temporary equipment. So we need to think about years in advance, and Micah Rosen and the Buildings and Grounds Committee and Andy looking at the sources of capital for this is critical. And we will have more information about that in the future. All right, we're going, but that leads me really nicely. Ordinarily, you would see Lindy Miller and Jody Monsbach up here talking about the Lador Vador campaign. But I wanted to talk about it in the bigger context, not just, as I mentioned, Andy and the Finance Committee and all of us on the board thinking about the future of our community, but also put it into context of where we've been and where we're going. This is the front page of a brochure from 1956. Among the rabbis' research was uncovering materials from the capital campaign of 1956. As you may recall, Sherith Israel's original buildings were downtown Atlanta, roundabout where the Fulton County Stadium was and Ted Turner Field and now Georgia State University. They made the pioneering and kind of potentially daring idea of moving to Morningside in the late 1940s and purchased this property. And in 1956, they said, we're going to build, and I think you can see down here, the new Sherith Israel Synagogue, this synagogue. And I think it's really interesting, the tiebacks. That's 70 years ago. And if you notice the tagline they chose, if you will it, it is not a dream. As you guys all know, this year, the rabbi thought that a great theme for our year would be, we are like dreamers. We dream a lot here. We do a lot with really surprising success. So I want to tie together this, and I'll quote just briefly from this actual campaign material, and it really rings true today. They said at the time, as they asked everyone to dig deep and build this new building, they said, the greatness of this project stems from the daring and dedication it will require, but when completed, our synagogue will stand forever as a symbol of our determination to choose under God the path of hope and faith in our future. I'd say the very same thing about us today. We have embarked on something daring, and difficult and requires dedication. But as I'll explain to you, we're doing it. And who are we doing it for? Let's see if I can click it forward. Who are we doing it for? Well, it's for us. You know, this is a building, and it's a costly building, and it's important, but it's not, the building itself isn't why we exist. It's us, it's people. It holds all the things that we do. But our buildings do shape us. What we can do and what we need to do, they shape us. And who is us? Well, these are some of the folks from 1956. There's not as many bobby socks in the audience today. There's not as many hats with daisies on them. But this is us. And this is us today. Doing many of the same things, dressed a little differently, but doing service, doing education, doing prayer. It's all still here. We're us in this building. And why now? You know, we've talked about this. Many of you have been approached about giving to this campaign. Many of you have seen the materials in the lobby, online. The reason is now we are growing as a congregation. That is not something to take lightly. I can tell you, quite sadly, my synagogue growing up in Toronto is which was founded by a group of people, including my parents in the 1960s, is on the verge of merging or closing and losing its identity. Our growth is something we really need to be proud of and really need to act upon. We are growing. We need to honor our founder's vision. And this, obviously, when you come in here, this is our first major renovation in decades, in 40 years. The time is now. We have the opportunity, and we should seize upon it. So what are we doing? I'll be very quick about this. Many of you have heard this a lot. But we're going to take our courtyard out front and make it fully flat, more accessible, more welcoming, usable for more programming. And we'll have a prayer pavilion outdoors, which those of you who who like to pray outside as I do, and I'm big plug for the Camp Ramah retreat in a couple of weeks. It's a beautiful place to pray by the lake in North Georgia. That's going to be a big change, and the building will also work together with the courtyard more so than it does today. We're going to have a bright, holy, and much more usable community room where the Zimmerman Hall has been extremely, built in the 1980s, has been extremely useful and has been extremely capable of doing many, many things we want to do. We want to elevate that. We're going to make this room brighter, airier. I'll show you a picture in a minute. We're going to have dedicated space for young families, more accessible bathrooms. We're going to have a complete kitchen renovation. Those of you who have enjoyed the use of the kitchen, I'll show you a picture of what it did look like and what it's going to look like. Obviously, our infrastructure needs work. As Ben mentioned, a big cost is infrastructure, HVAC, accessibility upgrades, parking, education, and very importantly, we're also looking at our avodah, looking at our Torah and avodah. What are our holy needs? And we're going to have a new Torah, new mantles, and other things that we can do to improve the prayer experience and the Torah experience. So this is one picture of a potential rendering of the new community room. As you'll see, it's a much more airy, higher ceilings, more circulation, more light. And in the bottom left corner, you can see that it opens onto the outdoor prayer pavilion so that it interacts with the outside more so than now where it's divided. It'll still hold, I should say, about 180 people for classes and 100 people for dinners. So it'll be a really great and adaptable space for all sorts of things, programming, prayer, etc. This is the kitchen in 1956. I think if you walked in there right now, you'd say, yeah, it's about the same. That's not good. It was great in 1956. That could be my bubby for sure. But now this is what we need for today. We want a place that we can cook together, learn together, that is accessible for more of our families, and is right up to the modern age, which it isn't right now. So that's going to be very exciting. And more so, the social areas and the meeting areas are going to be expanded. We're going to have, if you look here, this is the direct, if you're coming in from University Drive, you can see the entrance to the sanctuary at the back of that picture. On the left-hand side is a new meeting room. The meeting room is set, we're calling it a meeting room. I'm sure we'll have a jazzier name for it. But this enables more ritual and learning. It's not just for meetings. It can be for Torah study, which I know is some days is bursting at the seams. It can be for classes with our education department. It can be for board meetings. But it's a much more useful space that is imagining what we have under the roof in a different way. We have a lot more social space here too. And as one of us pointed out, that thing to the left where the person is standing, that's a coffee bar. Those of us who like coffee would love to have coffee here. I say that the San Francisco Coffee or Alon's is our second office at the synagogue. Well, why not have it here? Why not us be meeting, having coffee here as a community? And this is an aerial view, a semi-aerial view of what the courtyard could look like from University Drive. And you can see it's accessible, it's large, it's adaptable to different programming needs. It's pretty amazing, and it interacts with the building, both the community room, that two-story level windows that you see there, and the office side and the young family space on the right-hand side. It's much more interactive. It's much more with the same safety features. We still have wall and gates and security that we need to be mindful of, but it's really a much more welcoming space. So that said, how are we doing? Well, I'm proud to say that we've reached 2 incredible milestones in the past 2 weeks. Of our $8 million goal, we have collected $7 million in pledges. But it's still very hard to collect the last $1 million. Very hard. I need everybody, if you haven't been involved, or if you want to get involved, or you have somebody who you're not sure if they've pledged, please, please raise your hand for me, for Lindy, or for Jody, because that last $1 million is really, really important. It's the difference from some things that we really, really want to do and maybe having to defer them to another phase. It's really important. The last 20%, we've been told this by all the fundraising experts, is really the hardest part. I want to recognize Jody and Lindy and their whole team. There's over 24 people. You know, I'm going to say it in my later report, and I said it at Yom Kippur. Shearith Israel is not a spectator sport. It's us. And more than 24 people are working on this campaign. Program management, project management, construction, financing, communication. And just the fundraising output is unbelievable from a group of volunteers supported by our staff. It's quite incredible, and they really deserve a round of applause as well. Rick. Yeah, I'll repeat that for those out on the web. Rick pointed out that the initial consultants who came to do a feasibility study and we asked them, how much do you think this community can raise? And they said, well, based on your membership, based on your annual fundraising, we think it'll be about $1.5 million. Needless to say, we are a different place than they thought. And it's really important to remember that. We should be very proud of what we've done and very proud of where we're going. I want to also recognize our honorary chairs who have been a catalyst for huge growth and relationship building. Aaron and Lance Chernow, Sarah and Marshall Duke, and the Horowitz family have done a lot of work and a lot of outreach to make sure this is a success. So thank you very much. Another major milestone. This week, Tuesday night, after much consideration, because we're committing to a lot as a congregation to make sure this is successful, the board approved unanimously going ahead and signing the construction contracts and giving the go-ahead to start constructions in the next few months. This is a huge, huge thing. It's one of those things when rabbi goes back, when a rabbi later in 20 years goes back and looks at the minutes of the board meetings and the annual meetings, they will look back and say, that was a historic night. And it was a huge moment and very exciting to say, yeah, we're real, we're going right now. And that's my theme. Our time is now. I'll talk about it more, but we are building for us and for our next generation. With that, that's our summary of capital work. I'm going to hand it over to Robin Rosenberg, and we're going to talk about a couple of changes we're proposing for the bylaws, which were shared in the materials in the annual notice. And we will talk about why we're doing them, and then talk about the board slate coming up. Robin.
I know this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Bylaws. Our last major bylaws revision was in 2023. And what we did at that time was update, really it was a complete revision of our 2013 bylaws. So we had 10 years between those two really good looks at our governance. When we passed the 2023 bylaws, one of the things that we attempted to do was define the role of the board and the role of the management of the organization. That was one of the things we addressed, in addition to many, many others, which were actually extremely important. And when we did that, we removed the education department, or the education committee, as well as building and grounds, who had previously been part of the bylaws. So we have now brought that back as a request to change the bylaws, and in doing that, we have two objectives. One is that we hear and learn from both of these committees, and secondly, that they will learn about the priorities we all have as a board. The proposed Committee for Youth Education and Engagement continues to collaborate with staff in these new bylaws, but they also reflect the strategic focus of our board on the structured education of our kids and the emphasis on engagement of all of our youth and their families. So that's how we've redefined it, and when you read these the new descriptions, I think that's what you'll see. So we want to strengthen the infrastructure of our governance by bringing their voices to the table. The proposed committee, the primary responsibilities of our board is to manage risk and protect the Schul's assets. These are financial assets and physical assets. And during the past few years, as you've heard this morning, we are all more aware of the critical role of our Facilities and Grounds Committee and the impact of decision-making and planning on our budget and on our programs. The scope of this committee expands to collaborate with staff and to provide oversight of building operations and decisions that involve our physical structure. It addresses our needs for long-term maintenance planning and for planning improvements that support our programming and mission. And those are the reasons that we are bringing this back, these standing committees back, so they'll have representation on the board and we'll have a more fulsome conversation about these particular things. So that is one of the resolutions, and maybe I do them just ask for, or keep going.
They're on the ballot. You're voting for those on the ballot.
Right, they're on the ballot.
That you received at the back, or that you voted for online.
Okay. A standing committee, yes.
The chair of. I think the question is, will the chair of the Youth Education Committee be a member of the board? Yes. And the chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee will also be a member of the board, and we've expanded the board by 2 seats to ensure that happens.
Exactly. Thank you. So they become standing committees of the board with chairs on the board. The second request has to do with our financial audit. So previously, our bylaws provided that the board was responsible, when so ordered by the board, to cause an audit of the books. We took a look at this, and it was very expensive. So when we changed the bylaws in 2023, there was an additional requirement that we do this on an annual basis. Having gone through that exercise, we discovered that it wasn't always common practice for every nonprofit of our size, and it was very expensive in terms of time and money. So we would like to,
Robin, can I ask you
Yes.
approximately how much money, do you know how much money?
you could, something like that.
About $30,000 to conduct an audit every year, which, as you saw from Ben's numbers, is a significant chunk of annual operating expenses.
And the amount of time that it has taken is more than that. So for that reason, you will see the recommendation for a resolution, to the vote. We hope that you will take that vote and approve that the audit will be guided by the needs of the shul and as ordered by the board. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we don't pay attention to these things. There are a lot of things that you can do that are not a full audit, and we continue to be mindful of our responsibilities in the financial area. Dan. I would say that those are great controls. They do not relieve us of our fiscal responsibility for oversight, for whatever that takes. And so having a robust finance committee with oversight is very important for governance.
And I'll say, interestingly, I'm not even sure an annual audit would have prevented what happened in 2000. We would have found out about it years later, as we found out about it at the time. But the auditors rely on the organization to report the books. So in the case of what happened, for those of you who don't know, in 2000, there was an employee of the synagogue who embezzled money from the synagogue funds. That's the basic. An annual audit fed by information from that employee might not have disclosed what he was doing, probably wouldn't have disclosed, and they would have had relied on his word. Not saying that an audit isn't useful, and that's why we're ensuring in the bylaws, we're going back to the 2013 bylaws to state clearly that if the board orders it, if there's a need, we will do an audit. But we're trying to take away the burden of the annual audit at the great expense when we don't see significant issues with our books. I hope that helps answer the question. Brenda. That's a great question. That's a great question. So we're bringing in a lot of money. And in fact, I made mention that we have $7 million in pledges for the capital campaign. We've actually collected somewhere around $2.5 million that are already in the bank. And periodically, we take the money from it gets deposited into our operating accounts and then into a separate account at Schwab to earn interest on those dollars so that we're earning more as we get into construction. We've separated those accounts, and in fact, the board has passed a resolution making very clear that the money being pledged to the Lador Vador campaign can only be used for the Lador Vador campaign. So that if that, and it can only be touched by the people managing the investments, the treasurer, Blair Rothstein, Barry Berlin, who manage our investments as a shul and have for years. So it is being kept separately and cannot be used for anything. If the board suddenly said, oh, we'd really like to, whatever, do a big program and take $100,000 out of the Lador Vador campaign, they can't. We've said very clearly, the donors, we've made a contract with our donors, a contract with all of you to say, This is where this money is going, and we are pledged to put it towards those needs. Anything further, Robin? Okay, so that will be one of the votes on your ballot. Thank you, Robin. And then the other vote is the board slate. First of all, I'd like to recognize 3 people who may not be in the room today, who are rolling off the board. Their terms are up. John Efron, Marcia Jacobs, and Rachel Dobbs-Schwartz. We recognize and appreciate very much your board service over many years, and we'll keep finding ways to keep you involved, don't worry. So, round of applause for them. And then I'd like to present to you the 5 new board members who will be joining our board pending this election. First of all, David Goldsmith, a member of Sherith Israel for the past 8 years, along with his wife, Meg Lawley, and their children. He has been in Education Committee for about the past 5 years and is the incoming, subject to this vote, the incoming chair of the Youth Education Committee. In case you don't know David, it's quite possible that some of your family members do, because he's been teaching 6th and 7th grade in Machane Shai for the past 2 years. That requires applause. That's right. He doesn't want to be here. Well, and so we're really, really pleased to have him joining the board. Also, Jason Ossie, he's right back there, a member of Sherith Israel since 2018. With his wife Sarah and their daughters, are a big part of our Shabbat life and love to see them every Shabbat, most every Shabbat. He's previously served on the board of Camp Ramah Darom for many years and continues on its advisory board. He wants to help develop the family and Shabbat experience at Sherith, and in his professional career, he builds AI infrastructure at Google. I don't know what that means. But thank you, Jason, for standing for election. I'm not sure that he's here today, but Micah Rosen is standing for election because he will be the chair of the Committee for Facilities and Grounds, continuing his work, as many of you know, for the past 5+ years. He and Robin have been members of Sherith since 2002, and he has done an enormous amount of work. If there's anybody I want to walk me around this building and tell me what's going on, it's Micah. He knows it inside and out, and he's an asset that we could not ever pay enough for his services. In recognition of that, he received the 2025 Joe Cohen Award for his dedicated, lifelong volunteer service to Sherith Israel. He's by profession a trained architect and senior vice president of development at a large real estate firm. Then Sarah Silverman is standing for election. She's been a member of Sherith Israel since 2014, has served on the Education Committee and became the chairperson of the Education Committee in 2023. She has, in her work life, she has been a teacher and in home, and also a legal assistant. She does an enormous amount of volunteer work for El Refugio. I'm going to say it wrong. El Refugio. Yes, I said it wrong. Accompanying people to the Stewart Detention Center in South Georgia. And she has a master's in education, degrees in Spanish and Portuguese, and we're pleased to have her stand for election to the board. And finally, our 5th new member of the board is Rebecca Schwartz. She's been a member along with her husband Ilan since 2021. This one I had to read. She's originally from Northbrook, Illinois, but has lived in Boston, New York, Jerusalem, Los Angeles, and Ohio. She and her 5 kids are fixtures at Shabbat. She has volunteered on numerous items in the synagogue over years, and her work has previously been teaching in Jewish day schools, and now since 2016 in bookkeeping and accounting. So we're very pleased to have Rebecca stand for nomination. With that, if you have a ballot in your hands, and you have voted on it, I would ask you to mark your ballots, and Corey will collect them and count them in a brief interlude for 5 minutes while papers are shuffled. So, if you could, please. I can collect them too.
If you already voted, I haven't voted.
Oh yes, very important. If you've already voted online, no, you can't vote again. we'd end up with some sort of, congressional hearing or something. Oh yeah, please.
All right.
While we're waiting, we have some mazel tov.
So I just want to give a mazel tov to the Slomka family. Ari is officially admitted to JTS Rabbinical School starting class next year. And so Ari will be in the same class as the soon-to-be son-in-law. And that is a wedding for Liana. It's going to be so many simchas for the Slomkas, and we're just so proud of all your kids are doing. I also want to wish a mazel tov. I just got news from Allison and David Ash, new members. A new baby joined us, Melody, yesterday, and so we're going to be lots of new babies in the Shereth Israel world. And if you come on the Young Family Friday nights or any given week on Tat Shabbat, you can see lots of the Shereth Israel babies, the youngest ones around, growing here, and it's a really amazing thing to get to watch and to see.
Thank you, Rabbi. So while Corey is tabulating the vote results, I thought I'd give my annual remarks and let you know how things are going. I think you'll agree from what you've seen, things are going pretty good. But I want to reflect on the last year since I took on this role. There have been so many changes in the past year, it's kind of hard to believe that it's only been a year. First, I'll start with gratitude. I really want to thank all of you here who've been so supportive, the board, committee members, Rabbi Kamen, Corey, the whole staff. Above all, I want to thank Natalie, who has been standing with me and supporting me the whole year and always, and has seen and felt most of these changes in the past year. I said on Friday night that at times doing the work of Shereth Israel, and many of you can relate to this, and sometimes just being Jewish in today's world is challenging. I said to Rick on Friday night, I'm reminded of the old Jewish joke, the quintessential Jewish telegram says, "Start worrying, details to follow." That said, in spite of our challenges and frankly sometimes worrying, we've made incredible progress in the last year. 1 year ago, we had only just started our Lador Vador campaign, and as you just heard, we've raised $7 million in pledges. And we're ready to start construction. Here's a fact, though, I want to share with you that really speaks to who we are. Of all the families, the over 150 families that have been approached to give to the campaign, 95% have said yes. 95%. They've all said, yes, I'm in. That's an enormous take-up rate. That's an amazing thing in a nonprofit organization. It tells us that when people understand the vision of Shereth and feel connected to us, they want to be a part of it. As I said earlier, there's still room and opportunity for those of you who have not, and to encourage your friends and fellow members about that. Also, less than a year ago, Corey Hampton joined us as our new executive director, and she's done an enormous amount of work. Learning our ways of work, improving our ways of work, getting to know everyone, and just continues to grow. Ori Salzberg was appointed Director of Youth Education, and Rabbi mentioned the Friday night services. I was here on last Friday night at 5, just as an observer, and it was a co-program with Shereth Israel and PJ Library and the Jewish Federation, and there was about 60 or 70 people in the room, like it's just overflowing the lobby, and Ori held those kids in the palm of his hand. He just led a most beautiful, and that's not easy to do for 1.5 and 2.5-year-olds, okay? Like, it was pretty amazing, and he's really taken hold of and is continuing to grow in his role of Director of Education. With Rabbi Kamen doing so many more things through our service, through our school, shul, and the rest of our staff, we've really increased, this is what I would say, is we've increased the impact for our members, but also in Jewish Atlanta. We're attracting Jewish Atlanta to see what we're doing. Also in the past 15 months, speaking of growth, we have welcomed 32 new family units, just 2 new families in the last 4 weeks. That counts approximately, my math may be wrong, that's 56 adults and 22 children. Our growth is really energizing and it's really unmistakable. We need to excel in that and we need to grow on that. As you heard from Ben, every year we've been careful and deliberate with our financial assets and revenue. Would I love to have more money to spend in the our annual operating costs? Absolutely. While we raised $7 million in pledges for the capital campaign, we got $380,000 in our annual fund. It didn't suffer. This is amazing. Would I like to have more? Absolutely. Would I like to have more money in the bank to do future capital? Absolutely. But we are solid, if not exactly wealthy, we're a very solid financial position. But I want to talk more now about what we're doing with these resources. We've talked about, all the things that we're doing. In preparation for today and on the tables at the back, the staff put together a short summary of the highlighted events of the past year. It's 5 pages long. It's staggering. Concert with Deborah Sachs-Mintz, Aaron Chernow's powerful documentary about Kever Avot, Hanukkah Fest, Purim Spiel, Yom Mitzvah, Shabbat in the Park. It's too long to go over. There were so many moments in the past year that you can't really believe it's only been a year that we put these down. But the quantity isn't the important thing. The key thing about it to me is that these are not isolated things. They're connected. Emory at Sheriff, synagogues and scholars, they're all connected to purposeful, connecting, meaningful living through Judaism. That's our mission. Relationships at the center of all we do, but doing them with meaning. It's a fabric, that we're creating a fabric that all of these things make a part of. Our services, our work, and our renewal project are not for a select group. They're for all of us. All of those things that are on that list attract people from 1 month to 100. Let's keep doing that. We are responsible to create for and do for all of us. We are responsible to shape Shereth Israel that we want today and that our children and grandchildren are going to inherit. So when we look back on this year and all that we've done and met the challenges of, I want us to feel proud. Proud that we honored those who came before us. Proud that we honored those who carry us today. Proud that we strengthen our community. And right now, proud that we seize this moment. That is a really pivotal moment in our history. Our time is now. Let's move forward together. Thank you very much. Are there actually, let me take, I realize we're at 11 o'clock. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them now or I can take them afterwards. I know people probably have places to be, but. Great. Corey, can I ask you for a tabulation of the votes? Did the motion? I am pleased to say that the proposed bylaw revisions regarding the committees passed 54 votes to 0. The proposed bylaw revision regarding the financial audit passed overwhelmingly 51 to 3. And the board slate was approved 54 to 0. So thank you all very much for your participation. And I will throw it over to the rabbi for the installation of the new board and the conclusion of our meeting.
I'd like to invite all the members of the new board to come and join me standing on the steps facing the congregation.
That's all current,
That's all the
incoming board members.
all current and incoming board members. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just. Can you rotate it? Oh, it's locked. Can you unlock it? Oh, I think. I think up. Okay, great. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Sure, can I join? Before you come into this picture as well. All right, we'll take a picture and then I'll say some words.
All right, say Sheretz Israel. 1, 2, 3.
I wasn't doing this for the picture. I was doing this because because behind you is our beautiful Arona Kodesh and our Ner Tamid, and generations who have stood there and accepted the Torah and have sought the light of God and have felt the tradition behind them and recognize that they are part of something very big. That you are right now standing facing the congregation with the Torah behind you and the congregation in front of you, and recognizing that you represent us in a moment that is a big moment. You will be the board that will oversee construction in our congregation. You will be the board that will have decisions to make about how we together move forward. You will be the board that will contemplate how we educate our children, how we elevate spiritual life, how we do more in the world to bring meaningful living through Judaism. Each and every one of you are blessed with something powerful. There's a reason that you are here, and there's a reason that you are here together. Each of you has so many gifts to bring to bear for our congregation, and the work and the dedication that it will take will be appreciated for generations to come by people who read minutes. I want to bless you in this moment with strength and wisdom, with the recognition that the time and the energy that you will give to this congregation is worth it. It's valuable. It is meaningful living through Judaism. Let us recite together the Shehechianu, and then let's give them all a Mazel Tov and a Yasher Koach on this position. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'egianu lazman hazeh. Mazel Tov.
This concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for being here.
We'll be meeting in Corey's office to talk about the budget.
He seems to be on
Yeah.
board a little.
We talked about it too.
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah. Very much.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I was happy, but I had to rush out of there.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your election.
Can I trust you with this? You're going to hold it?
All right.
Why don't we keep it with the TV?
Hold it for now.
What?
I'm going to hold it until you head basket.
Okay. As long as I can.
You know, standing up there just now, I was thinking about what when Mara was talking about at the board meeting on Tuesday was, now's the time. It's just a little bit more money to include this space, and it's not wrong. I mean, just new carpet, paint, and this.
That is not a little bit of money.
I know. That's what I was thinking is that can't be included.
It's more money than you might think also.
I know.
But I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. But it's still cosmetic,
Corey, I'm gonna mention right now to Michael and to Bara about the project to collect volunteers to fix chairs.
Oh yeah, I just sat in a bad one. I saw that in somebody's notes for the last board meeting, and this morning over there, I just happened to sit in, a bad. Okay, now I know. Yeah. I was just telling Rabbi that, you know, I can't remember who said it the other night at the board meeting, but you know, it was Mara. Now's the time to. It's only a little bit more money. You know, it's just an extra 10% to do this room. And carpet, yeah, but it's this thing that's just hideous.
I love it.
You love it?
I do.
Really?
I think it reminds us of who we are. We are not the flashy show.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be flashy. Just
I know, but when you
like
monetize
art.
things.
Yeah, I know. There's no. All right. It could be. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be maybe less brown.
Maybe.
There's got to be a more
Maybe.
modern version of it. All right. Well, I'm glad that he's on board with that.
Yeah, 100%.
And
It's just about what he already got to next step instead of focusing on where we are. And then as we
So
talked
we'll
it
move
out, he was like, yes, the plan makes sense. I want to make sure we do it right. Yeah, I know that we know that. That's why we're taking these steps. Because if the plan's not right, then it doesn't matter how we execute it. So he's
all
totally on board.
right. Well, we're gonna have.
I put in
lot of
extra money
changes.
to the budget for that one position that we're doing now. Because I'm going to have to increase that. So that's part of what we're working on today.
For the member services.
Facilities.
Oh, facilities. Yeah.
Because that person.
That's gonna be more money.
The other one should be budget neutral.
Except for the $15,000.
Right, $15 an
Oh,
But that's not so much. That's an extra part-time position. And that doesn't need benefits.
right.
That's the big thing. Things that need benefits cost us
Yeah.
money.
And we'll see what we need.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, thanks. And I'll give you a little report after our committee meeting. But
Okay. I'm going to start working on it. The only thing
on the job descriptions.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Safety and Security Committee is dragging their feet a little bit, so I might have to step in because we're at a time where we can't drag our feet. So I might have to.
That's fine.
Now that I know you got money.
I got tons of money.
This is our expense for the party, the reception that we did for the campaign. Huh?
I said, do I look like a dear Jody?
I couldn't find them. But if you give it to...
No, I'll process it.
Yeah, but you can just reduce our dues by it if you want to, or whatever. You don't
No,
send
we'll
us money.
reimburse you because it comes out of the capital. That's that money, not our
And then we'll send
operating
it back.
operating.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Thank you.
also shows it off in the front hall of their house.
Yeah.
Like a real amazing.
We
It's okay, I want to like walk in and have you play that.
we once rented a house that has all like foot oak. It's really old. The kids love it.
This one's electric. It's like more like hippie 60s, like kind of
Okay, so it's not
Wurlitzer.
Phantom of the Opera. Or you could probably get the sounds out of it.
There's no pipes to it, but it's electric.
It's electric. Yeah, that makes no sense. They had to do it, you know, the time.
My mom too. My mom bought when she bought a condo, when she sold our house, she had to get a condo for a little baby Grant. She bought an apartment that has a little area. Like that was the purpose of buying that night.
We have the 6-foot Steinway taking about half of our living room, but that's fine.
It brings you joy. What else is there space for?
The greatest joy is when my grandson comes in. No, I don't think so.
No, it was young
played in the
fan.
band.
He played in the band 2 Fridays.
Yeah, he played viola. He was out of school.
Yeah, Howard?
He's in middle school.
The public one.
Yeah. They're doing a lot of enrichment.
Well, good to see y'all.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your help and support.
Thank you for all your work.
Not me. This is just,
It's amazing.
we're good. It's not on me. It's the village.
And when I met here 10 years ago, I was determined we are not going into a contentious situation where people are fighting with each other because I came from there.
Yeah.
And right now they had this huge building and they just had to sell it.
We're very lucky.
And we are growing.
And we're growing, and we have to make sure we take advantage of that. We have to really take advantage of that.
Don't take it for granted.
No, exactly.
But we were going to go with the, Adam. Let's go to Adam.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Because we didn't feel comfortable here. So we spoke to him.
Did you talk to Lynn?
Okay, good. It's not,
Okay, good.
it's
Just the
decided
It's the how.
exactly
Got
the
it.
idea.